Day 22 of your astrological advent calendar. Today we're going to talk about something that's coming in a couple of days. It's going to be another significant energy shift. Venus is going to be entering Capricorn on December 24th, and that's a whole other version of Venus. Now, Venus is very, very close to the sun, going into this end phase of her synodic cycle, which is called combust. So under the beams, combust, and then cazimi. That's kind of the process. And then she comes out on the other side after she goes through that reverse process of combust under the beams and then visible. So there's a really beautiful story about invisibility to visibility, rebirth, and coming through in this phoenix version of Venus, but also Capricornian. So we've been having this Sagittarian Venus, which loves all these expansive ideas, exploration, adventure, optimism. Venus in Capricorn is expressing love and beauty and value through commitment and discipline and endurance. Venus is measured in time here because Capricorn is the very practical cardinal earth sign, and it might take time. Things develop slowly and consistently. Venus in Capricorn emphasizes lasting value, things that will go forward in this world, and actively pursuing them. So there's going to be a continuity factor in what we find beautiful during the Venus in Capricorn time. For story time today, I want to tell you about Hildegard van Bingen. I have a favorite nun, and that's it. Like other people like superheroes, I like nuns. Anyway, she's my favorite. She was born in 1098 in Germany, and she was the 10th child of a kind of moderately wealthy family, has moderately high-class family. She had visions very, very young. And when she was around 3 years old, she made the mistake of telling her mother, and her mother was like, "Don't talk about that, just stop." And so she became the tithing child. This was normal back then for families to provide one of their children to the church. I believe she was 7 or 8 years old when she became interred into the monastery wall with a woman named Jutta, who was older than her. And they lived together in isolation, and they were brought food by the monks, and they held a certain position within the monastery that was quite important. But after Jutta passed away, Hildegard was allowed to leave, and she was about 38 years old, and that's when her life really started to blossom and bloom. She was a composer, a theologian, a healer, an advisor to political and religious leaders. She became really important because her visions, she was actually able to share them with people that she trusted, and it got all the way up to the Pope. And so the approval that she had was very rare. They decided that these were actually visions from God and not from the other side or whatever. And so she had a lot of authority, an unusual level of authority for a woman and during those times. She wrote sacred music, which is what we're going to talk about today. Her theological works, her texts on nature and medicine. She eventually formed her own convent, which was super rare. And none of this unfolded quickly. It was all through patience and discipline and earned trust and agedness. It's stuff that takes time to understand and master, basically. And this is very Capricornian. Nothing happens very quickly because if you take shortcuts, then it's not going to be as good. It's not going to be as respectable and of good quality in the material world. So none of this unfolded quickly for Hildegard. The formation came first, and then expression came later, and authority emerged through time and responsibility. The song I want to share with you is called O Oriens. It's a song of light returning after the solstice. So Hildegard lived within this world of sacred time. Back then, it was one of the most important daily markers to have Vespers. Vespers was the evening prayer at the close of the day. And in these days that followed the winter solstice, Vespers were particularly important because the sun had just reached its turning point, and in the northern hemisphere, that's when light was beginning to return. And so there were certain chants and certain songs that were sung at this time every year. O Oriens means O rising light or O dawn. It directly addresses the returning light and welcomes something already that's in motion in the sky. It's happening. Even though darkness dominates, it's sung in the evening just after the sun is set, and the increasing of the daylight cannot be seen. It just can be trusted that it is coming back. And this is what's happening at the end of December. It's quite a pivot point because all the planets that we've been watching through Sagittarius are starting to, one by one, leave. And on the 21st, that was when the sun entered Capricorn. Mars is already there. doing its work, military grade Mars excellence. Sun is there, Venus comes on the 24th, and then Mercury will catch up and we'll have a bunch of planets in Capricorn. So it'll be a completely different energy going into the new year, and it's the time for building into the future. It's already happening. We're looking towards the future and our goals, our interests. What do we want to do? We've had all this inspiration, spiritual inspiration, and now Capricorn helps us make things actually happen in the world. And that structure will be so critically important moving forward with all this big energy from 2026 to 2028, where guaranteed we're going to be living through some very interesting times. So very important to put the effort in now to get to know what you want, where you want to go, how you're going to do it, and who you are, what that connection is. I think that's the real message of this entire season. Merry Christmas. I wrapped it up and sent it. With a note saying I love you, I meant it. I learned that it's called being whammed. It sounds awful, doesn't it? But we were doing the music at the retirement home, and that was one of the songs I was singing. They just tell me what to do, and I do it. But the guy that was the MC, he talked about being whammed. He's like, I got whammed for the first time the other day. And I was like, what the heck is he talking about? So I guess it's sort of like being rickrolled, or just when you hear the song. And I think there's some little boys that are kind of getting popular or famous on the internet at the moment for ringing a ring, what are those called? One of those ring cameras that does a video. And it looks like, 6 little hoodlums coming up to do something naughty. And so they ring the bell and then they start singing Last Christmas.
Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, but the very next day, I gave it away.
It's so cute. It's absolutely adorable.
This is to get you in the Christmas spirit. Bye. Love you.
Day 22. I'm putting these on right away. Okay. Wow. It's really pretty. It's a white peace agate. Intuition, peace, positivity, enhances intuition, helps understanding about what draws our energy out and avoiding negative situations that can be harmful. Sometimes we have to go through negative situations in order to learn and grow and put the time in. I think about Hildegard van Bingen and being 8 years old and being walled in, bricked in. Can you imagine? Interred with some lady you don't even know. And she didn't get out of there until she was 38. I mean, that's 30 years of putting that time in and finding this peace and positivity. And then when she came out from that space, she made music that we still hear today. She had to be building that the entire time. Her wisdom and her learning, that's what fueled all those things. White peace agate, really pretty. I like you just the way you are. Thank you for being here with me on day 22. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on day 23.